Welcome back. After Wednesday's chaos at the Capitol, President-elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris came forward with speeches saying those rioters were treated differently because of their race. Watch.
No one can tell me that if had been a group of Black Lives Matter protesting yesterday, they wouldn't have been treated very, very differently than the mob of thugs that stormed the Capitol.
We witnessed two systems of justice. When we saw one that let extremists storm the United States Capitol, and another that released tear gas on peaceful protesters last summer.
Here to weigh in, we welcome Nan Hayworth with the Independent Women's Forum and a former New York Congresswoman. Also standing by, Tom Borelli, a Newsmax Insider. By now, you both know that sadly 5 people died following the Capitol riots, including Ashley Babbitt, a 35-year-old Air Force veteran who was shot in the chaos. She was a white woman. Nan, why are Biden and Harris making what happened at the Capitol about race?
Emma, because the president-elect and the vice president-elect are going to make everything about race. This is what the Democrats do. They do it for a reason, and everybody should be aware of this theme. And their theme is, this is a great deception. This is a great distraction. The reason they concentrate so much on blaming America for so-called systemic racism, and racism is never acceptable, but in fact, vulnerable communities have been placed in jeopardy because of decades of Democrat failures of both policy and politics, and it is dreadful for our country that they have seized upon this moment when they should be calling for unity. The race of Ashley Babbitt does not matter, but she was a white woman who perished at the hands of Capitol Police. She should not have been doing what she was doing. She was breaching essentially the House of Representatives chamber for all intents and purposes. I know it well. But, you know, the race of that woman should not matter. But the fact that she was a white woman would probably, had situations been reversed, been exploited by Biden and Harris for their purposes. This is not about actually calling for any sort of fair treatment or any calming of the waters. It is calling for America and Americans to consider everything, yet again, through the prism of race. It is unfair, it is unjust, it is wrong, it is toxic, and it will turn out very badly for our country.
So Joe Biden said if it would have been a group of Black Lives Matter protesters, they would have been treated very differently. Harris describing it as two systems of justice. I don't know if it's fair to make this hypothetical comparison to begin with, but I want to show everyone a photo of Capitol Police officers from over the summer months during the Black Lives Matter protest, where they did take a knee in support of the protesters here. Tom, what do you make of this sort of what-if situation that Joe Biden describes in his speech? And how does this comparison impact his calls for unity among American people?
Emma, the second part of your question is really the most important, and that is, Biden is now showing himself really to be a hypocrite. Because remember, he was out there after the election. He said, I want to unify the country. I want to bring people together. He accused President Trump of being divisive and spreading people apart, pitting people apart. And the first thing Biden does after a national tragedy, he steps up and plays the race card. I think this is what we're going to be seeing going forward. And it really doesn't help the American people unite. It doesn't help the American people heal over an incident like this. And oh, by the way, we need to focus on the accountability. It was the Capitol Police leadership that failed. They have one job. One job is to protect that Capitol. They knew there were going to be tens of thousands of people attending a rally, and they actually had an offer from the Pentagon to provide National Guard before the rally, and they refused it. So when Biden and Harris go out and start talking about the race card, they're really distracting about the accountability of those whose responsibility is to protect the Capitol.
Yeah.
It's a grand distraction, and it's destructive. It's not going to help anyone.
Yeah, I mean, so many questions remain as to how these rioters were able to breach the perimeter. Quite concerning. The fact that these people off the streets were able to do so makes you wonder what sort of image that makes it look like for people who would want to plan an attack or some sort of foreign adversary. Anyway, we move on. Joe Biden also coming forward with some strong words for Trump supporters. Listen to this.
Don't dare call them protesters. They were a riotous mob, insurrectionists, domestic terrorists.
Nan, your thoughts to his comments there?
Again, Emma, he is differentially treating American citizens on the basis of their politics. He's also, of course, we just talked about it, framed it in terms of race. But in this case, essentially, he's continuing the deplorables theme. It's okay to call Trump supporters, whatever their ethnic and identity category may be, thugs, insurrectionists, rioters, any awful term you can think of. It's okay to do that to a Trump supporter. Not okay, though, to do that to the people who were perpetuating property destruction, looting, destroying small businesses in minority communities.
Nan, I hate to
they were
interrupt just a moment.
Protesters.
I hate to interrupt just a moment.
Grotesquely unfair.
I want to get to this breaking news. We're learning that the president will not be attending the inauguration. Perhaps it doesn't come as a complete surprise to many people. But Tom, I will have your reaction. Again, on the screen, we're showing a tweet to all of those who've asked. I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th.
Emmett, it doesn't surprise me at all, given the way the election was carried out and, the numerous accounts and affidavits of people claiming that the election, there were irregularities and the election was stolen. So I think that's completely okay for the president now to make that statement. And because it's consistent with his total view, I believe Vice President Pence is going to be there, and then our nation will just carry on. But to the other point, I think really Biden is really afraid of the Trump supporters. Don't forget, President Trump got about 75 million people to vote for him in that range. And Biden needs to demonize those people to keep them, to label them somehow bad, because he's afraid of what they can do in the future with respect to their voting.
Well, I appreciate you both weighing in this morning and reacting to that breaking news as well. Again, Trump not planning to attend the inauguration. Nan Hayworth and Tom Borelli, thanks as always. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care.
Thank you.
Emma, thank you.